All right. Hello, everybody. Hey, Scorpio, how's it going today? Hopefully you're having a good start to your day or evening. Really great to see you. Looking forward to helping you kind of map out and traverse the next 6 to 8 weeks. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh. This little furry guy here is Apollo. He's my dog. We're going to be looking, like I said, at the next month or month and a half. And welcome if it's your first time here. I'm going to put down Apollo so we can focus. And let me talk a little bit about what's in store for you. I always like to start off forecasts with a bit of just of a mental download here from my guides to yours. So we'll begin with channeled messages, and then I'll walk into the Celtic Cross using the cards to see what's coming through. I'll give you a choice to vote on which deck we use, so stick around for that. Then you can see we'll go into all different sides of what's available to you. We'll be looking at the expanded forecast, focusing on areas like health, wealth, love, and destiny. We'll see if there's an overarching big idea that kind of helps out. Any blessings or blocks, anything that you really need to know, we'll have a chance to organically find our way to it today. If you have a specific question, I ask that you hold that until the end and just meditate on it. I don't answer questions live, but I do give you a chance to meditate and ask a silent question at the end. And that's the overarching sort of organization. There'll be a chance to vote on some polls throughout this as well. So I hope you enjoy. I'm really glad you're here. You can always use my videos for your sun, rising, and moon signs. Also other aspects of your chart you can watch on behalf of other people as well. I've added a new portion into my reading where we'll focus on those 3 areas, sun, rising, and moon, and it comes right before the meditation. So I hope you stick around for that. A couple of quick notes just on how everything works here. First of all, if you happen to be joining me live and you're in the live chat, it's good to have you. You do need to be a subscriber to chat. That's just so that we can make sure that people know how everything works here. So feel free to subscribe, and then I think it's like 10 minutes after that you can join in on the chat. If you would like to keep up to date with what's going on, subscribing will also help with that, but there's a bell icon as well. That way, if I change the time of a reading or if I do an impromptu one, which I do from time to time, you'll be notified. You can also join me on social media. I typically use all of the story features across social media to remind you, and I occasionally go live on a couple other platforms, so you can check out all of those links right here and also in the pinned comment that I put up just a few moments ago. And for those of you that would like to show a little bit of love and support, you can do that through SuperChats, SuperStickers, and of course memberships. On the replay version of this, there'll also be a thanks button that pops up maybe after an hour, after it's kind of like process the video. That's another way to give back. Okay, so thank you so much. Also, my schedule's on my website if you'd like to look at that. As I said, I like to begin with channeled messages. We had quite a few coming through today, and it's been a while since I think I chose this particular totem. I'm going to be looking at salmon as one of your totems and one of your messages. I also saw a skeleton key and a fitting room, and all of these seem to be nice metaphors for change and finding the right fit, and sometimes even moving counter to the flow. So let's break each and every one of those down and get a little bit more information. All right, so let me pull up my presentation here and we'll get started. So as you can see here, those are the 3 things that I wanted to talk about. Salmon being a really cool energy and cool totem when it comes to things that we can focus on. Why? Well, because it has this capacity to move against the flow. And the movement creates growth. It's basically the way that the salmon reproduce or spawn. I wanted to understand a little bit why or what the benefit was for them doing this. And let's just break down this behavior and also how it can connect to you. So fun fact, and I had to look up the pronunciation. Basically, they hatch in fresh water, but they migrate to the ocean. Then they return to the fresh water to reproduce. I think it's anadromous is the way that you say it. But basically, not all fish do that. And even as a human being, it seems sort of weird to be in a completely different environment where imagine that there was like more or less oxygen or something that you would need to survive. Kind of fascinating. It's reminding you, so the fact that they thrive and it creates abundance by them sort of changing their environment. If we look at that and abstract it, and that's what I do when I see a totem, particularly if I look at a totem and there's something unusual about it, that's what I'll focus on. So changing of environment and even going into an environment that you may feel like, I don't know if I can thrive here. You can. And so we have the Six of Swords here, which is showing movement. Now, this could be changing up where you are right now. So it could be deciding to like move your furniture around, for instance. There could be something a little bit more symbolic, like a reorganization in your company or in the way that you kind of, deal with your schedule. It could also be something cool. You guys sometimes give me a hard time for not focusing on love. What I see here with this is there could actually be someone coming into your life, or you could meet someone by getting out of your sort of general routine and the normal places that you go. So traveling will bring in new partnerships. It will bring in new abundance. It will bring in new opportunities. Moving, traveling, or getting outside of your routine. So change up your routine a little bit in whatever way feels good to you. That's going to, just like the fresh water, kind of infuse some oxygen and some life and some opportunity into what you're doing, okay? So fun already. I'm loving salmon as your totem. It's worth the work. So salmon can travel quite a distance to get where they need to go, hundreds or thousands of miles, and that's a lot. Let's talk a little bit about why they do what they're doing, and then it kind of makes it worth it. So basically, one of the reasons that they are not reproducing in the sort of salt water or whatever is it's not as good for the young juvenile salmon and the eggs to hatch. So there's higher oxygen levels when they go into the fresh water, and there's just less danger there. So they go through that journey so that the next generation has something. There's also like a bigger message there too. Ultimately, I think as we kind of live our lives, and maybe at one part of our journey, we have fewer days ahead than we have had behind us. You want to kind of leave your stamp on the world, make a difference, make sure that the next generation benefits. And also, I believe in reincarnation. The more we can improve this planet for the future, the better it will be when we eventually step back into a new body and experience this whole journey again. So it always behooves us to leave a good sort of like a footprint here for the next generation. That's why I never understood why some people don't go the extra mile for the planet, whether it's recycling or reducing your carbon footprint or whatever it is. Even if it doesn't help you, it's going to help the future, and then by definition you. Okay, back to this. One of the interesting things with salmon is they also have this amazing sense of smell. So they can kind of smell or taste the water. And it kind of like in real life situations, I'm sure you've heard of like the smell, like you can sniff something out if it's a good opportunity. There's taste tests, things like this. We want to be trusting our senses when it comes to new opportunities. We can find our way home or find our way to something good, just like the salmon can. So they're born in the freshwater, they go back to the saltwater, and then they remember how to get back there. They also use the sort of magnetic field of the earth, which we'll talk about in a second. But using all your senses and making sure that things make sense, using all the different sort of definitions of the word sense is going to be important here. Pushing is going to be necessary. 9 and 10 of wands, either card would be fine. 9 of wands would show like the survival energy that all of us have the capacity to tap into. But the 10 of wands I liked here, and I'm even wearing a shirt that kind of like honors it here today, because depending on where you're at in the journey of the 10 of wands, sometimes it can feel overwhelming, just as much so as the 9 of wands, because you could be looking at how much is left to climb versus how far you've already come, and you realize, wow, I just have to go a little bit further. Both cards have that sort of energy of impatience, yet amazing accomplishment. So take a moment, be present, celebrate your progress, and also remember, like, the more you work, the more that's at risk, the bigger the wager, sometimes the bigger the payoff. If you've got nothing to lose, you may have nothing to win. So keep pushing. You've come this far. And even if something seems overwhelming, break it down into smaller pieces and eat it one at a time. Digest those little chunks of information or those parts of the journey bite by bite, rather than trying to bring it all in at once, because the best of us can feel overwhelmed if there's just this big thing in front of us. You don't have to do it alone. That's one thing that I would say. Reach out, find an agent of help to kind of give you the support that you need. Okay. All of this was getting back into the senses, which we talked about. Does it feel right? Does it smell right? Does it taste right? Sniff out a good opportunity or a bad opportunity. And if it doesn't feel right, dig a little deeper. Every time I haven't listened to my inner knowing, I regret it. Whether it's a job, a friendship, a move, any number of things, or even just like this is the time to act and make this sort of movement in my life. When I delay or deny that sort of knowledge, it usually, I think later, why didn't I listen to myself? Why didn't I do that? I should have, I could have, I would have. So right now we're going to help you avoid the should have, could have, would have, and you're going to act on your intuition as it comes through, okay? And I got to this also by them being able to navigate the magnetic energy of the earth. How does it feel to you on sort of like a soul level or a heart level, okay? So a lot of great energy with this little tiny fish that came through. So there you go. One more thing here, and I put it up at the bottom here, but I'll also put a disclaimer here. Whenever I talk about anything with respect to your diet or your exercise, you're always going to work with a professional before you change anything. I just wanted to look at some of the benefits and some of the areas where this particular totem can kind of help us focus. So many of you know that salmon are rich in fatty omega-3s, vitamin B12, potassium, vitamin D. All of that being said, they're also this very aerobic fish that go counter to the flow. So I like that we see exercise, energy, and all this nutritional value in this totem. So in your own life, make sure that especially if you're working hard or not, sometimes prone not to take care of yourself, that you do take care of yourself right now. These particular things that we're looking at here are specifically good for heart health and brain health. There is a history of heart disease in my family and also like strokes and things like that. So I've seen both neurologists and heart specialists to make sure that I'm in a good place. But I remember them focusing on they're like, you need to have this in your diet for good cognitive health, for good heart health. So talk to your doctor. Talk to your specialists, see what's going on in your family. It's going to be different for everyone, but these sort of things do come through with this particular totem. So I thought it was worth noting, again, with that standard disclaimer at the bottom. Okay, let's move on to the next item here. So I was shown a key, a skeleton key, an old-fashioned one. I really like this card, which comes from the Wild Unknown. If we were to look at a traditional Hierophant card, you would normally see two disciples, and you would see the keys at the foot of the Hierophant, which is a representation of the Pope. So when we're looking at a symbol like that, the old-fashioned version of it, a lot of times it's saying that there's a gatekeeper. And we're often taught in school, in life, in culture that there's only one way to do something, or we have to move through one of these gatekeepers. The fact that I was shown the key without the gatekeeper, I just was pulling the card so you can see the traditional one. So here's your Hierophant card. And if you notice right at the foot of the Hierophant, we have the keys, we have the disciples. Here we actually just have like a raven or a crow holding that key, which is saying, we're in a new phase now. That card was actually created, a few hundred years ago. The Rider-Waite-Smith deck has been around for a while. So we're in a new era, and this is a chance for us to realize I don't necessarily need to go through that old system or that old hierarchy. I have an idea for change. I'm going to follow through on that. Also, if I feel on some level that I lack the skill or the know-how, I can always ask for help, but maybe also I can just give it a chance, give it a shot. Because for any of you that maybe when you were a kid and learning how to ride your bike, you had those training wheels, so you have the two regular tires in the car, and then there's like these little training wheels that go on the side that give you balance. They're good if you use them for a day or a week or something like that, but if you leave the training wheels on, you actually don't learn to balance on your own. This key came through to remind you that you'll get through to the next side. You just have to turn the key. You have to walk into the unknown. The Fool could also be an energy that I would pull in combination with this, but that's kind of what I was getting, was to take the training wheels off, to pick up the key from that card that we just looked at and say, there were two keys there. So that other person is free to hold their own beliefs and go their own path, but you're also free to go your own way. And that's actually how I'm interpreting the Hierophant today, is that there could be a different approach, but this differing opinion doesn't mean that one is better or worse. It just means that you might be ready for something else, okay? And that's going to be part of your growth. And the previous symbol was about going against the flow. Salmons go upstream, right? And they go from one environment to another. So out of the box thinking is going to be helpful. That's what I put here in the second paragraph. But sometimes when we're looking at the old guard, it's very scared of change. And maybe not even scared, but very, what's the better word for this? But suspicious is what's coming through. It can be suspicious or unsure and maybe not as comfortable as you are with stepping into the unknown, okay? Last thing that I saw in dreams was a fitting room, basically a place where you'll try on clothes. And I was shown sort of like the measuring tools that you would use to make sure that you would take the measurements on your body, right? Not necessarily anybody in there, just everything was set up. So this fitting room for me was about making sure that you didn't force something. So for those of you, particularly shoes are a great example. It either fits or it doesn't. I'm sure we've all been to a shoe salesman who says, just get a half size bigger. For all of you like me that have extra wide, like I have quad E, wide feet, that does not work. Now you just have a very narrow shoe that's too long and you're gonna trip. So don't fall, don't fall for that. I'm sure some of you have probably bought something too big and you try and put a belt on and then it looks too baggy. It doesn't matter if it's too big, too long, too short, too tight, it's not gonna fit. Find something that fits now, or if you're just on the precipice of growing figuratively in your life and you wanna see something that you can grow into, sometimes for growing kids, you'll do that. You'll make sure that you do allow for a little bit of growth, that's fine. But if you know what you want and you know something doesn't fit, don't force it. If you're looking for a house, if you're dating someone, if you are trying an exercise routine, on for size to see if that feels good, if any of these things don't work for you and you've given it a shot, trust it. Because forcing the fit can actually hurt you in the long run, or it ends up just being something that you ultimately have to fix along the line, okay? Measure out your opportunities. This was something that I wrote here too, because I was shown that, yardstick or measuring stick. So look at something and think, it's good now, but will it be good in the long run? Or am I already, a big fish in a little pond? Are you already not feeling good with what you're doing? So it can be the clothes that we wear or the situation or the relationship that we're getting into. Plan things out. So I liked the architectural theme in the Three of Pentacles. I was trying to think, what's the best one for measuring? If you plan things out correctly, which you have to do when you're looking at construction, everything's going to be fine. If you don't, it's a house of cards. And that's why I chose this particular card, because there is time, thought, planning, also not just the effort, but the understanding that this won't work. This is what's going to fit here, and we need to stay true to that. So don't force things, get the right fit. And the hardest thing when you're dating, when you're interviewing, when you're looking at new things that you want to try, it's sort of like sometimes you just want to jump straight into what's available, and don't. Give yourself time to review the options and pick what's right for you. Okay, so let's take a look at some different decks that we could use today, and then I'll let you vote on the one that you want. Feel free to put out an idea or two while I'm showing you what I'm picking here, and we'll go from there. So I've been throwing this one back into rotation, but I may put the Wild Unknown as one of them because I did feature the Hierophant card and it looked pretty cool. So let's put that one in there. All right, so we've got the Wild Unknown. Let's see what else is calling to me today. Speaking of wild, we may do Wildwood. I'm going to throw Afro-Goddess because it hasn't been in a lot. And what would you guys like here? Let's see. Could do the Moon and Sun and Moon. I just did that one though. So maybe Field Tarot could be another one that we pull in here. Maybe. Okay. So there we go. So kind of my new selection here of ones here. Let's see. Okay, good. It looks like I got some that you guys like. So I'm going to get started on these. I just kind of wanted some abstract or different ones. Let's see. All right, here we go. Let's get the poll set up and see what's going on here. All right, so we have wild, unknown. We have wild wood, lots of wild. We have Afro Goddess, unless someone else has a different recommendation, Afro Goddess. And then we have the Field Tarot. All right, so let me show you each one of these a little bit and then we'll get going. Okay, so many of you, I'm sure you've seen this. I've just brought it. That's the card that I featured here was the Hierophant. It's a beautiful deck. It's all illustrated by hand and has like these pops of color. Really cool. And I love the animal totems. And that's actually why I chose the second one. These two are kind of like the first ones I'll grab when I want to work with animals instead of just human counterparts. So the wild wood, which is the second one, has a little bit more of a druid nature sort of theme to it, and a lot of animal energy with it as well. Just a different illustration style. We have the Afro Goddess one, which I use quite a bit. I just like to throw that in there for a different option. And then one that I haven't used as much, all of these three are kind of coming out of not being in rotation. I was going to say semi-retirement. This is the Field Tarot. Very cool, soft vision, sort of soft visuals on it. Very abstract. Definitely one of my faves. All right, so these are your choices today. It looks like Wild Unknown, pardon the typo on that one, is taking the lead. Let me just double check. Yeah, it is. All right, so by 38%. I don't think any of the other ones are going to be able to surpass that. So thank you so much for everyone that voted. It is Wild Unknown. Don't worry, I will continue to rotate some of these. So I try not to do the same old. I used to be so geeky that I had a spreadsheet, but lately I'm like, no, I'll just kind of go with what I feel like. So the spreadsheet that I was using, I'm like, that's too much. Let's just allow the energy of the universe to kind of like step in and tell us. So if you just joined, again, we're going to be moving into the Celtic Cross. Thank you to everyone that voted. Let's go ahead now and focus on the next 6 to 8 weeks. Let's bring it on. Again, this can be for Scorpio, Sun, Rising, Moon, any aspect of your chart. Stay around until the end and we'll talk about some of the additional messages with respect, such a cool card, to Sun, Rising, and Moon. Yeah, the spreadsheet actually goes back all the way to like 2015. Just there's so much that I've been doing. I've started doing more videos. It was just too much to keep up. So I'm now just kind of going with the flow and whatever comes to me. It's actually more intuitive to not worry about that because sometimes you're meant to use the same deck is what I decided because energy kind of pulls you towards it. So we're fine. I figure by giving you a chance to vote, we can also shake it up because then I'm not always going to just what I want. I kind of pick 3 or 4 that I want, and then you can tell me which one you want. So we both get a chance to kind of like affect the selection. And that's what's kind of cool about the lives. This is why I really like doing live readings with all of you. I kind of view it as teamwork and collaboration. Whether you're watching me live or on replay, it's just kind of cool to have that ability to work together. Okay, we have 2 stuck together, so we're going to leave them stuck together. Oops. And this is an oracle deck in that same sort of family here. So that's Wild Unknown Oracle there as well. Very cool stuff. All right, so let's go ahead now and get to the Catalyst card. We're using the Lord Ganesha deck because we're in the middle of a retrograde, so I figured this could help. And really a nice connection to what I was talking about with respect to changing the environment, clearing your energy. So one thing that I've been doing, even in my own place, I'm getting ready to move. I haven't picked a place yet. I'll be looking at a bunch of places over the next few weeks that could be a potential place to move. But I'm starting to clean closets out, put things in boxes in other rooms, and that's one way to clear energy. And I recently just had to do this for someone who had passed away. So I feel like I've been moving and packing and unpacking for like 2 or 3 months here. It's a lot. But one thing that you'll notice if you've ever gone through spring cleaning, fall cleaning, it doesn't matter when you do it, there is an energetic shift that happens when you go through and get stuff out of your sort of energy sphere. Even if we're looking at like old files. So once a year, you should go through and look at all the stuff that you're keeping and think, why am I holding on to this again? There's a certain amount of time we have to hold on to legal documents and things like that. But at another point, it's sort of like either digitize or release that stuff because it just starts to pile up and it starts to kind of lag you down. So one thing that could be going on for you is an environmental shift. There could also be, and this is a really good thing to do in a retrograde period, you may just decide, I am tired of this connection with somebody. It could be a loved one, it could be a boss, it could be an old friend, and you're thinking, I don't want to fight anymore. I don't want to have that person's sort of agitated energy in my thought process anymore. So I'm going to try to clear or release or step away from. So there's either an environmental thing that might be a little bit toxic, or there might be a person, might be a combination of these things. Whatever it is, you're going to clear your energy. The other thing that's really important is to say what you need to say to the people that you need to say it. So for some people, it may be a goodbye, it may be an I love you, it may be I'm sorry, but we never know how much time we have on this planet or how much time someone else has. And if you can get these things said and done in a timely fashion, when the unknown happens, you are on a nice clean slate karmically. You don't have to worry, I wish I would have done or said this. Especially if you have to move quickly and do something and then you've got this sort of like loose end that you wish you could tie. So say and do the things you need to say and do, especially during the 6 to 8 week period, even if it's difficult. And a lot of this may be, for some of you, verbal. For some of you, like me, it could be environmental. It might be a combination of the two. Okay, so that's going to help you feel stronger, be stronger, and start on the right foot when it comes to something new in your life. Let's take a look at what's at the center here. I love this spider web. All right, so I believe this is the 8 of Pentacles. I just want to make sure. 6, 7, 8, yes. And also we've got the 4 and 4 on each side. Okay, good. So with the 8 of Pentacles here, I have another deck here, which is one I could have pulled as well, Starseeker. There's a lot of decks that use spider webs with either the 8 or the 10 of Pentacles, and I think it makes a lot of sense because the work that you do in the 8 of Pentacles is the attractive force. You get a return on it. To me, 8 is one of the most logical investment cards that you could pull. I would say yes to that. Usually getting the training that you need, the education that you need, editing or revising something, which by the way is completely supported by a retrograde period, or deciding to really dig deep, sink your teeth into something and say, I want to understand it. These are things that can always be good, even if and especially when you're in a retrograde period. So the card is reversed, which is saying, I'm going to take a moment here to sort of like take stock. And with the spiderweb metaphor, let's imagine that this could also, because I take 3 and the 8 of Pentacles in reverse as revisionary cards. So think of the spider web in the morning when there's dew on it, or when the spider's cleaning out yesterday's meal and it needs to go back in and sort of like fix the web. This is what I think is coming through, is trying to get ahead of something like that before it happens. So some of you may have maintenance that you're trying to take care of in your house or your car, preventative maintenance. This is the time to do the preventative maintenance. Might also be something like your teeth that you need to get cleaned or whatever. We do these things on a schedule so that we don't have something bigger happen. Also, if you want to finish something like a degree or some sort of project that you started but never finished, also really good during this period of time. And then even if you wanted to start something new, like a course of study or the planning or the beginnings of a project or an idea, great time for that. Capturing them is key. There's not as much thought that goes into, this can be not in a bad way, but what this can be in reverse is sort of like, I need to sketch it out, write it out, put it on a dry erase board. We're not going to perfect it just right now. We're going to capture it. It's like a musician that records a demo. Sometimes, in rare occasions, the demo is good enough and they use it. But a lot of times the demo is there just to get the sound or the feel. And a lot of times the musicians, like the regular bandmates, and then also the lyricist or the vocalist may work in different sort of areas, and so maybe they get something and they hand it off. So you just need to record your piece, put your thing down, and then join with the group or put them together as a patchwork if you're kind of getting these downloads in pieces, and that's the key thing. If you tried to go out of the gate with perfection, it could hold you back from having the progress that you need. Capture, iterate, revise, build upon, and then you're going to be okay. They don't, construction of a house doesn't happen overnight. Foundation, the skeleton of the building, the plumbing, the wiring, then all the drywall, then it's like step after step after step. So take every step and don't skip one, okay? And don't try to just get to the end result. Very different interpretation of Eight of Pentacles, but that's how it's coming through right now. This is the whole thing that I'm talking about, patience here. So we have the Hanged Man, which is crossing that. And some of you might also, kind of like what I'm going through right now, but there could be, I have to do it by choice because of the construction going on in this place, but you may have more energy nocturnally, because we're looking at the bat here. So early in the morning or later in the evening, and for some of you that have families or work a job and maybe you're studying at night, I'm seeing this sort of like different spurt of energy that wouldn't always be there. While it's there, take advantage of it. Make sure that you do take care of your body and take care of yourself, but there may be some shifting of when you work, and that's going to help with your productivity. Mostly with the Hanged Man, it's not rushing yourself, because there is value in the pause or in the time that you're taking. When we go back to the traditional meaning of it, that is how the secrets of the runes were revealed to Odin. He had to hang upside down, wait, sacrifice some time and energy to get that gift. So there's an opportunity or a gift that's awaiting you, but the timing is what matters right now. You have to make sure that you're not rushing it and you're not rushing to the finish. So all of this is appropriate because we have the Ten of Swords here in the deep past. By far, this is I would say, the most challenging card. The rest of these look really good. So Ten of Swords, of course, if it's going to show up, I'm happy that it's a past influence rather than something now or in the future. But many of you have been through some difficulties here. This can indicate a feeling of I failed, or I'm tired, or someone really hurt you. There could also have just been a lot of pain that you went through emotionally. It doesn't always have to be physical. So losing someone in your life can bring in the Ten of Swords, because it just feels like everything hurts, like that REM song, right? Or Everybody Hurts, right? So there's times sometimes where it just feels like everything's falling apart. The cool thing with the Ten of Swords is it's a nice reset and it's a full stop. And if we look at the traditional card, which I'm going to pull up here, there's always a new dawn behind the Ten of Swords. So see how a new day is coming up. This is your traditional card. And even in your darkest hour, there's a new sunrise, a new horizon. And this basically tells you that whatever you just went through, we see something brighter now on the horizon. And even if it didn't feel as tough as the Ten of Swords, maybe you just had a long month or a long year, it seems like there's going to be more variation as we step into the next part of your journey, okay? So it was context. That's the best thing that I can ever say about the Ten of Swords or the Devil or the Tower. Now you know what you don't want. Now you know what a difficult thing feels like. So your soul doesn't have to repeat the lesson. And as we're looking at a retrograde period where there can be repeated lessons coming up, make sure that you're not going into any of that. The next card is telling us ostensibly what your lesson could be. And it is, for some of you, simply dimming your light or not doing what you're being called to do, right? So let's look at the star and let's talk about it. For those of you that are on the shy side, the star card can feel a little what's the best way that I can put it? You can sometimes feel like you're being seen too much. So it's revealing, it's exposed. That's the best word that I was looking for. So there's a lot of exposure and accountability and revealing energy that's a part of it. So when you take the lead and you're the point person for anything, you understand that. So the buck stops here. Like, you have to make the final call. You also have to take the heat when something doesn't go well. The flip side is true. When you push through some of those challenges and you succeed, you also get to enjoy the successes. So there's a little bit of a growing up, coming of age energy with this star card, where it's saying this is a time where you really are being asked to be a little bit more front and center, accountable, and don't be afraid to be yourself. The fact that earlier I was tuning into the kind of the card from this deck, that Hierophant with the bird and the skeleton key, it just tells me that some of you may have a really high bar of excellence. You may be looking at someone in your life and thinking, how could I compare to them? But I already see that you have it, and the cards already showed that you have that potential, okay? So now is your time to be unafraid and also like own whatever it is that you want to represent, because people are going to be so happy that someone's ready and willing to do that. If anyone in your life is afraid of letting you shine, that's a fear-based energy. That's conditional love. That's something you don't really need to connect to anymore either, okay? By and large, the star is good, though. On a soul level, it's telling me you're more connected to yourself. It could also represent a really deep connection coming into your life. So when I look at the star, the Six of Cups in particular, those cards are connected to higher love, higher relationships, higher friendship. So you're at the precipice here of calling someone new in or calling something new in. The main thing that is holding you back from that or causing the delay that we saw with the Hanged Man is maybe doubt of self, and then maybe holding back a little bit for fear of visibility, recognition, rejection, any number of things. So don't be afraid is the main thing that I would say here. Because as we look at your crowning card, opportunities knocking, we have the Knight or the Son of Pentacles here. And this is basically the universe saying, I've got something set up for you. Are you ready to run with it? Because Knights move quickly, and there is, again, cooperation, action on your part. This is not a passive card. If there's something that you want to do, then there's a reminder here that it's a two-way street, that the universe meets you halfway. It doesn't meet you all of the way, and it's not going to land in your lap, okay? So when looking for an apartment, a home, even love, it's about putting yourself out there and getting in the mix a little bit. I like what your energy's sort of showing up as. The Knight of Pentacles to me is something that will move forward. It's something that is of value. And so the main thing that you want to kind of keep as a mantra in your head is, I'm worth it, I can do it, this is going to happen. Okay? We got the Wheel of Fortune, which just underlines everything that I just talked about. And we have a dream catcher representing that. So dream big, work hard, aim high, all of these sort of metaphors, because you're right again on this sort of edge of achieving what you're trying to do. So don't hold back. Look at these three cards one more time. Recent past, this is where your head's at. This is the crowning energy. This is what's coming through, and this is your near future. So that's success, but maybe fear of success. This is opportunity knocking. This is opportunity landing here. Some of you may also have looked at someone who, like, this is almost like a shooting star, right? Because it's reversed and then we see the failure. So you might have not succeeded. I don't like the word fail. Maybe you didn't hit every mark that you'd hoped to. Maybe someone in your life didn't do that and you're afraid of repeating that. No, you're not stuck in that path. You've learned. This is a card of knowledge. And it doesn't matter how you stack it, because the spider can go in any direction and it looks the same to me. So you've learned the lesson, or you've watched someone else and you've learned what to do and what not to do. You've taken enough time now, and we see now something really great on the horizon. If you've been waiting for an opportunity, I see a breakthrough. And again, my readings last about a month and a half. So anytime in that period, there could be a great breakthrough that's wanting and ready and willing to come through for you. So I like this. I think this is great for you. This is fun. When we get two of the same suit, it can indicate a really great partnership coming through. This is you, but we'll talk about this all in a second here when we get into love a little bit more. But the King of Pentacles is coming through as a representation of your energy, your spirit, your ego. King of Pentacles is a great card to come through for business success and for self-development. It's also the card of house, home, and parenthood. I like to kind of look beyond gender on the cards, but King and Queen of Pentacles are like mother and father energy. But we can look sort of like generically at both of those as birthing or parenting or nurturing something. So do you believe in what it is that you're trying to birth, nurture, deliver to the world? That inner belief and that inner faith is what gets other people behind it. So that's like one question that's coming through. Talking about all that stuff that I was tuning into when it came to environmental energy also came through with Lord Ganesh here. What are you doing to clear and clean your environment? Do you feel safe? Do you feel supported? Do you feel nurtured by your environment? Your environment contains multiple things. It is not just the place that you live or work in. It's also the group of friends and the family that you have in your life. So are you feeling nurtured by that? Seems like you're doing a decent job helping others. This is a nurturing and loving card. Just make sure that you're receiving. The card is upright, so there's no real negative connotations here that I can kind of intuit. The only thing that I would say is both of these cards are a little stubborn and a little focused on facts. So we see the pentacle beneath or between the antlers. And so what I see is that the head space or your focus tends to be on practical resource or sort of like facts and figures. So make sure that you take a moment to look at the other stuff in life, not just money, not just success, not just what's being said or thought about you. It's more sort of like, how do I feel? And, what do I want? And those sort of like other things that are important and constitute happiness as well. So if you're hoping for success or focused on it, I have good news energetically. It's here in the cards here. That is a return on energy. That shows me latent ability to shine and do more. This is you and others being interested in what you want. This is the same. This is more of the same. So money, 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 resource, 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 opportunities, they're all over here in the center, okay? So you're fine. I feel like you're in a really good place, Scorpio. Worry more about what do you want? Is it also kind of like connecting to your desires, your dreams, etc. Your happiness is important here too. Let's see what's going on around you here. All right. So we have the, we've got the Nine of Cups here, which is really interesting. So the Nine of Cups is a chance for you to really look at all the passion that I was just talking about. So I think some of you may feel either very, very connected or very, very disconnected. It kind of is a polarizing card. There's no in between with the Nine of Cups. So it's either hot or cold, on or off. And for some of you, it's sort of like maybe you're wishing that there could be more middle ground. Or if you're in the middle, you miss the rush. Because sometimes, at least when you're crying, you're feeling something, or when you're really, really happy. So the main sort of thing, if I can put my finger on it, is you need to feel connected. And some of you want to feel a different way than you're feeling. So trust where that desire is leading you. And then this is also the sunny side of the street card. If you can look at anything, especially a setback, but it gave me context, but it helped me see what I wanted. It helped me see that that person wasn't right for me, or that job wasn't right for me. Therefore, it was a lesson and it was a blessing in disguise, one that I hope I never repeat, but now I'm in a better place. Even if it's not everything that I wanted, it's better than that. So try to take the good with the bad and try not to go overboard, because the Nine of Cups is a card that lacks moderation. I highlighted Temperance as one of the cards earlier, just to kind of be patient and cognitive and really present in the moment. So that's one thing that can kind of help you out if you're feeling one of those extremes or an extreme longing. Okay? Hopes, fears, and opportunities. The Knight of Swords in reverse. So for many of you, there is a moment in time where you kind of have to act quickly, quicker than you think you are capable of, and you may have to speak up. With the speaking up, be mindful of, again, what it is that you want to say before you say it. All of the Swords cards in reverse, particularly the 4 court cards, carry with them a little bit of a warning, particularly during retrograde, that you just want to make sure that you've mapped out what it is to say. Write it down, put some bullet points, something, to get it out, and then move on. But the other thing here is that for some of you, you've been wishing things would happen fast. When they do happen, it will be really fast. Careful what you wish for. It's en route and it's happening. So I would say the important thing for you is to decide, like, when that door opens, when that opportunity is in front of you, remember you called it in, and remember the time to act is absolutely right now. So I see a general sort of cautionary note when it comes to saying what you need to say, and then I see an encouraging note when it comes to the impatience that's a part of that center card, saying, don't worry. In fact, you'll get what you're wishing for, and you'll have to act pretty quickly once everything starts to get started. All right, and then we have you got a lot of knights here, 3 knights. We've got the Knight of Cups here in reverse for your outcome. Again, I'm going to hold the relationship for just a moment because there's a lot of stuff coming through for that, but let's focus just on the general spread, and then we'll look at relationships in a few moments here. So the Knight of Cups in reverse, it's a reminder of, like, how do you feel? And that's been something that I've been asking here. It feels like some of you need to decompress. Whenever we have a card like this in reverse, it's saying, I want to like it. It's kind of like that X-Files movie, I want to believe, but that carries with it the sort of understanding that you're not quite there yet. And that was the whole trying on fitting room that I saw. If something's too tight, if something's too loose, if something's too soon, then something's not right with that. Give yourself a chance to feel good energetically, and then also feel good about what you're receiving. And if you don't want it, say no. Cups in reverse absolutely are permission to say, I've had enough. No more. And sometimes we only see that as, like, maybe justice reverse, but anytime cups are reversed, those are, to me, they're like satellites, they're receivers. So something's telling you, I don't want to receive this yet, possibly because some of you need to say something, and maybe because there's a little bit of a tug of war here between who's in charge. So let's look at that real quick before we move into the expanded forecast. There's a lot of people here, and because we've got, like I said, 3 knights. So who's the boss is the one thing that I would say. It should be you, because we have you coming through as the King of Pentacles. But there's a lot of other people that are kind of in the mix here. So one of the challenges for you this month could be leadership. Who's going to take charge? Do you feel comfortable with who you're following, etc.? You could also be in a big family where the siblings all feel like everybody is right or wrong and they're pointing fingers. There could also be a workplace where there's just a lot of competition. I see competition coming through and people vying for this attention and the approval of that person here. So when we get into love and relationships, I'll dig deeper. I would say the important thing for you is to try to rise above that. A lot of times when we talk about the Moon card, which is on my cup here, the Moon card reminds us, let's see if I can get it to focus, of the importance of not getting caught up in the sort of competition there. There's always a path between these two, and there's a reminder there to pay attention. I try to even teach with the things that I'm drinking here, but there's an importance to not get caught up in that competition. There's something beyond that. The whole purpose of the Moon card is to go to the next level, but sometimes we have to look at, what are we afraid of? What's this core relationship? Are we being honest with one another? All of those things as well. Let's move into the expanded forecast. We're going to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny and get some additional understandings of what's coming through. Okay, we're going to begin with the health card. We talked earlier about the importance of focusing on heart and brain health because of the sort of nutrients that come through with salmon. Let's look at what the Oracle card has to say here. Some of you are dealing with someone who's passed. You might also be mourning something that just ended in your life, like a job or a relationship, because we can look at, this could almost be like the death card. Death takes multiple forms, both symbolic and then actual literal sort of loss. For those of you that have lost someone, first of all, I'm very sorry. I recently went through that and I know it's tough. It says, thank you for drawing the loved ones close to you at this time. A reminder that they're always with you. Though, let me say this. One thing is, it doesn't make up for the physical loss. I am intuitive. I have mediumship abilities. I've even been able to kind of connect with my mom since she's passed. Nothing replaces the physical connection that you lose. Even as an intuitive, yes, you can talk to them, but not all the time. It's one fun thing that people forget with mediumship. It's not like a party line or a telephone. You can't always dial up to that person. A lot of times they have to be ready and willing to come through to you. It has to be like the right timing and the right connection. So you still have to live your life. And one of the important things here is whether this is a symbolic or a literal disconnection with somebody. What's coming through is what I said earlier with the Hierophant. You are on the rise. You have the capacity to do this. You have the key, which we saw in that Hierophant card. You always have. Sometimes it takes the disconnection, like a divorce, like a death, or like quitting or being fired or being made redundant, whatever you want to call it. It takes the hard disconnect for you to realize, I not only can do it, I must do it, right? There's no choice. For those of you that might be a single parent and maybe you lost a spouse or you're divorced, the same sort of thing happens where you feel like all of a sudden, I don't have a choice because I have one or more persons depending on me right now. So I better get it together. So I'm telling you, you have the strength to do it, but you may need some support as you're going through this. And that's what this is. This doesn't necessarily constitute depression, but it can indicate emotional distress or stress, which is completely normal for any kind of disconnection. So if you need to talk to people, do it. It's a sign of strength. And I think hopefully everyone as they're getting, in the next generations here, is not as stigmatized as maybe people from the last century were when it comes to talking to someone, getting support, counseling, etc. Okay? That's one thing that's coming through. Let's look at the cards and see if there's some additional messages with respect to general health. Again, I always like to disclaim this portion. I am here to help you with metaphysics, but if you need to talk to a physician or a psychologist, do that. We're looking at energy and where this might point to areas of opportunity in your life. Okay, so that being said, this can be a card of chronic pain or it can be emotional pain, which we covered. Definitely talk to a professional if you're going through either of these things. Abstracting it, it's showing me that there was some difficult stuff in your past that's giving you the keys to success. You've learned your lessons. You're going to be a better leader because of it. Failure actually informs success and gives you the, if you imagine it like manure, and you can plant things in that manure, and it becomes fertilizer. So when you have that sort of not so good stuff, make it fertilizer so that you can grow from it. And that's the best thing that I can kind of pull out of the Ten of Swords is it's great fertilizer. All right. Looking at some of the other cards here and looking at it from a health perspective. I really do feel like anything that you want to educate yourself on, it's going to help you kind of like stick with it. So let's say you are really trying to change your diet routine or exercise routine, learning why and how the body works and things like that. There's an educational component that's going to be really good. So the more you know, the more you can grow and succeed with whatever path you want. So again, immersion, education, and understanding is going to be really important to long-term success. Emotional sensitivity is coming through. The need to express yourself verbally is coming through as well. For those of you that are dealing with grief, you know that one of the stages of grief is anger. Anger comes out in weird ways, right? It's not always, you may be angry at the passing or the disconnection of that other person, but it may not come out. You may not say it to them or in spirit to them, but then you may just like snap with someone else in your life. And it's not because necessarily that they're a bad person or they did something wrong. You're taking the anger and you're channeling it in a place that it shouldn't be. So be mindful of where the the sort of disconnection and digestion of that sort of anger or that grief is going, because it may be projected in a different place. And that's why it's super important to talk to a professional if you need it. For everyone else, just mind your words. Make sure that what you're saying and how you're saying it is appropriate to the audience there. And I say that because it's going to possibly make things more difficult for you if you don't do that, and then that feeds back into health. Let me see if there's anything else. I think we've hit on the main things here. If there is any sort of chronic pain or fatigue, particularly in the back, neck, lower back, that's what this card tends to indicate. So make sure you take care of your back. And that includes like your chair, your bed, your posture, all of that. Okay? Avoid extremes. This is an extreme card. Nine of Cups is going in one direction or another, so moderation is key. Let's move on to your wealth card. And again, it's interesting because there's a lot of energy on opportunity coming through today. So these two cards are going to be important. Let me pull them close to the camera. We'll start with the one on top. So we have the heart, higher heart activation. It says, dropping shields, divine love, your heart is healed. So this is the past, and it's allowing you to get into that future energy. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be happy in the family that you're in the relationship you're in, and in the job that you're in. Those are the different types of connections that you could have. And I'm looking at this heart energy because those are the places that we're often denied that sense of satisfaction or fulfillment. So if anyone in your life denies you happiness for being yourself, whether that being yourself could be going down a career path that mom and dad or society doesn't approve of, whether that path might be loving someone that doesn't match the prototype of what was expected, or whether that's just deciding like, I'm not happy and I need to do something to be happy. This is your chance to rectify that. And until you are healed in the heart space, doesn't matter how much money, how much respect, how much success you have, it comes up short. So amplify the heart, listen to the heart, and everything else will be fine. It's the most important thing, and it takes precedence over the other stuff. And it's going to help you decide between a couple of decisions if you're at that sort of precipice, okay? And we see a portal here, and we see springtime energy. Look at that. Beautiful wildflowers blooming, and then this portal coming through. And so I see improvement on the horizon for you. It's just about, maybe nobody in your life gave you this permission or encouragement, so you're getting it from me. And if that's the case, so be it. But you deserve to be happy. That's the message with that card. All right. The next card that comes through as a result of it, it was underneath it. We have an Earth Gateway or a Gaia Gateway activation, learning experiences, wisdom transmission, Earth intelligence. So once you know and feel who you are, everything will settle in. Everything comes together. And now, this is Earth as well. Then you're going to be more successful and happier. So truly be yourself and love yourself. Until the self-love is there is no grounding. There is no Earth energy. So the heart, it's kind of the opposite of our chakras here, but you really need to feel good about yourself, and then it kind of sinks into the earth, and then you can kind of go up higher as well. So that's kind of the way this particular career card is coming, because we're in wealth and life purpose and career. So feel it, love it, and then know that that's actually going to inform and support the growth and the foundation of what you're doing and who you are. Okay? Great energies, great information there. Let's look at the cards here from a wealth perspective. I'm feeling very optimistic and very good about where you're headed. Even if we just look at this diagonal, this is where your head and thoughts are. This is what's coming through. And this is how you perceive yourself, how others are perceiving you. It's great. We actually see like a furthering of that energy here, going from the Knight to the King. There is, again, this sort of like question that the cards are kind of posing to you. This is how the universe is starting to kind of see and feel and want to kind of represent you. But in the past, you've denied that or doubted that. if you continue to do that, there is competition. There are other people that will kind of step into that role. So I feel like I just really want to encourage you to go for it, to be yourself, to have a good time, and to just give something the best possible effort that you can. And just don't worry if you make a misstep or if you're not perfect. It's really about how engaged you are, how passionate you are, how much other people enjoy working with you. These things are going to be more important than perfection 100% of the time. I don't know many people that are perfect. Everybody's a work in progress. And the ones that are aware of that and have fun with that are a lot more enjoyable to be around. So give yourself a break, okay? When we're looking at negotiating for a better financial future, you do have good negotiation cards here. Wheel of Fortune and the King of Pentacles. The outcome tells me don't get emotional. I was watching a TV show the other day where they were showing like a real estate deal. And the reason that they have brokers communicate instead of the buyers is because the brokers play the middle. And like, let's say the seller is really, really emotional. And then the buyer is really angry. The two brokers come in the middle and they're kind of rolling their eyes and they're saying, all right, let's feel it out. Let me understand. They can go in and they can kind of play the middle. So if you just had the two parties talk, it would take forever. There would be people getting upset. They're very emotionally attached to things. You may need someone to help you find the middle. So practice what you're saying. Maybe take it back a step. I had a good boss once that would say, I like what you've got there. Just the first paragraph. All the other stuff is you spouting out stuff that you don't need, or the reverse. You would say, all right, you got all of that out. This is the one thing that you need to talk about. Everything else, I'm glad you expressed yourself, but that's not going to get the job done, and it's going to upset the person that you're talking to. So it's a good lesson. It's hard to do on your own sometimes. So if you have someone there that can help you see the emotional piece and the practical piece and help you focus on how to blend the two or find the one thing that's going to get to the heart of the matter the most, that's going to be key. All right. So clean up the message and don't get emotional. And you have a really good chance of getting what you're asking for. That's the message when I'm looking at business, finances, and opportunity. Pretty succinct. So we're going to stick with that. Let's move on to relationships. We have ask and receive, which is right what we just talked about here. So if it's a business relationship, this is underlining it. Let's get out of business and let's look at love. So you never know until you ask. And also, if you're not clear on who you are or what you want, the other person is guessing, and we can't punish them if they guess wrong. I joke on this channel that if in a relationship I have to pull out tarot cards, that's usually, it's a bad sign if I can't just have a call or a communication with somebody. If I have to pull out the cards to see how they're feeling, that tells me that they're holding back or that we're not communicating. Cards are a great tool, but like in a day-to-day relationship, like if I'm meeting my friend and we're having lunch, I'm not going to pull out cards to see if it's going to be we're just going to go and I'm going to see how it feels. You should be able to just have a conversation. So ask for what it is that you want, validate on what's going right, be able to receive compliments and also criticism with equal aplomb, with equal sort of ability, and that's going to be important. You need to be able to both give and receive. And it's hard. That latter part is hard, receiving criticism or receiving praise. Seems like those are very hard for us as human beings for some reason, because sometimes we feel like we have to be way too humble instead of just saying, thank you, I worked hard on that and I'm glad that you liked it. And saying it from a heartfelt place rather than, oh no, it was nothing. It was something. You should take a little bit of pride and accomplishment what you did. So make sure that you're not sort of like going too far in either direction. It's okay to say, thank you, that means a lot. And it's equally as good to tell someone else that they did a great job. So give and receive compliments and criticism with equal sort of skill, I think is one thing. Let's look now at 3 different categories. If you're in a relationship, if you're looking for one, or if you're single and happy. Relationship is like love with a capital L. So you can, if you're not dating someone or engaged with someone, it can also be the most vital relationship in your life. That might be a parent, that might be a coworker or a loved one. So that can constitute, it is love. So it's just a different form of it. So you can look at that for the first one. And then definitely the second one is more for people seeking out a relationship. All right, so let's go ahead and look at this. If you're in a current relationship, Some of you feel a little stuck, and this is about like education, planning, all the sort of like busy work. Something's holding you back, and or your partner, and you could just feel very, I mean, the focus is on money, and the focus is also on personal development. So one partner might be going back to school, one might be really frustrated with their lack of progress at work or in their career path. You may have a difficult time, because this is an arguing card, discussing things like money and career. And the most important thing then would be this month having honest discussions about work, about money, about your purpose, and the things that matter most. It's all those grounding energies that would be a part of those earth cards or pentacle cards. But it is time, money, energy, resource. If we abstract it one level more and just consider like the give and take, there is a sort of inequity. I always want to see like a king and a queen, or a knight and a page, because they're closer in rank. When we have a knight and a king, there is a sort of inequity that's going on there. And there can also be this feeling of somebody is superior, or, you know, someone always gets their way. So let's make sure that there's ample and equal give and take going on in your relationship. The other thing here is, for those that come from a big family, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. There's a lot of opinions here. You really want to focus on and showcase the love that the two of you have for each other, because these two cards can represent the true love here that I'm seeing here. So high partnership, a lot of love, care, and tender energy here. So let's not let this stuff get in the way of this. And maybe there's been some hurt or some arguing or some miscommunications in the past, but there's a lot to fight for, right? But you have to kind of like see eye to eye when it comes to this money and career and future goals. And if you're not able to communicate about that, then things break down a little bit, okay? And that's something where you probably need to ask for a third party to help, like a therapist. But that's what I'm seeing here, is it's the practical stuff that's going to get in between. But bright side on this one, we didn't get the devil, we didn't get the tower, we didn't get the justice card in reverse, which could indicate that it was going to fall apart. What I do see is arguing or miscommunication, and somehow that needs to be healed for some of you, or hurt feelings, because the Ten of Swords can be carrying a grudge. So the sooner you can get over that, the sooner things can get into a good place. Okay? So let's go ahead now and look at those that are seeking out love or partnerships. You have a good chance of finding them. This is like just so much opportunity. The interesting thing that I would say here is, what is it that you're looking for? The more you are clear on who you are and what you want, the better the universe can give it to you. So ask and receive. If you're just saying, I want a partner, I want a man, I want a woman, the universe is going to send whatever's available. That's kind of like back in the day where we used to, remember the bulletin boards maybe that were at school or in a community center, and you would just post something. It's like anyone could just tear off a little thing and call you. That's not what you're looking for. You want to be really mindful of what it is you're trying to bring in, rather than just an open casting call. So for some of you, specificity is important. The other thing here is not to be afraid to say what it is that you want when you actually have found that special someone. Say, this is what makes me happy, this is what doesn't make me happy, and then listening to the other person as well. But I see a lot of options coming through, almost too many. The net looks too wide for me. And I would say two things. You seem to be focused on career or business or money. There's a little bit of healing that needs to take place. Don't try to be someone that you're not. All of those things are first, front and center. Once those are taken care of, we could just jump to the last card. And I would say it looks like there's probably a water sign that's coming into your life. But even that sign seems to be a little bit not balanced. So finding your balance is most important. I don't think this is a month to put all the energy into relationships. If you're already starting one, you can look at the first thing that I talked about. I think right now, I'm not afraid as a reader to say this isn't the month. I would say there's a lot of work for you when it comes to money, happiness, personal sort of path. And as that comes into focus, people are going to be drawn to you. Okay, and then you can be discerning, then you can be picky. There is a lot of earth energy around you, so you may be calling that in stronger than these other kind of transitional energies as well. It's too all over the place, so I would say focus on you. okay? And that carries over to those of you that are single and happy. It's a great time to be single and happy. Lots of advancement coming with work, with personal growth, and with development. If you start something, you will finish it, and you're going to get a lot of positivity out of that. Also, I feel like you can be single and very happy. This is legitimately the card of happiness and like being on your own if you want to. So that's fine, because it's usually we just see a guy in the center of this with all the cups around him and he's overjoyed. So be happy with where you are in your life right now. That happiness is a magnet as well. And that can bring in someone else if you're ready and if you're willing. Okay? I think the most important thing is healing, growth, and then communication over your wants and your needs if you're in an existing relationship. Looking now at your destiny card, we have the butterfly. Beautiful symbol coming through for you. The butterfly's reversed, but it really doesn't matter because this is a transformation symbol. And actually, the butterfly, when it's in its chrysalis stage, is hanging upside down. So we actually have a connection with this because it looks a lot like the Hanged Man, right? Have you ever, if you don't know what I'm talking about, do a Google search later for chrysalis or cocoon. But chrysalis is what a butterfly goes through. It basically goes on a leaf or a branch, and it connects to it and it hangs upside down like the Hanged Man, and then it comes through it as something different. So this period of time right now is your chrysalis, is your development, is your transformation. Transformation, aka the death card in reverse, can be stagnation. So what we can kind of pull together with these two is that you're not stagnating as long as you're continuing to push towards the next goal. There just could be some impatience and a feeling like I'm dragging my feet. Keep putting the effort in, and I do see that you're on the path towards freedom, liberation, change. Change is a common thread, though, as I'm looking at readings over this 6 to 8 month or 6 to 8 week period. So be open to change. Ultimately, that would be the last message here with a change-based card that was reversed, saying change can come from unexpected places. Change can happen at inconvenient times, and you could surprise yourself in your capacity with how far you could change. Okay? So let's move on to the big idea. The big idea is one card that basically encompasses all of these lessons that have been presented to you thus far. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully you're enjoying yourselves and the readings so far. All right, we've got the Hermit card here. And again, we're looking at the big idea. The big idea here is that many of you have done the necessary work, but you're still feeling like, I don't know if I'm ready. Thankfully, we already got a card here that says, not only are you ready, but you're a little bit overdue for your success, for your recognition, and also for action to take place. And we talked earlier about the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, Knight of Swords in reverse, which is going to show that you'll have to act quickly. So you've done the work. Congratulations on knowing yourself. If you need to finish up any sort of inner discovery or whatever, please do that, because again, that Knight is coming through saying when you've done the work, it's going to help you. Things are going to speed up quickly. If you look at a traditional Hermit card, one of my favorite cards in tarot, not my favorite, but my maybe second or third, because it connects to the star. I love the star. That's probably my favorite. But we can't get to the star until we've done the work of understanding that I'm okay on my own. There we have the Hermit as traditionally drawn, and you can see the star that he's holding. So he discovers his light, he discovers his purpose, and he eventually becomes the star. So you've already done the work, and you've actually been there before. So this is just about taking that lantern, embodying the star energy in there and saying, I can do this. I think there's like a little bit of a confidence thing that's coming through for you for some reason, Scorpio, where maybe you've just, you've been waiting for a moment or a sign or a signal to kind of make you feel like you can do this. So maybe today's reading is that. Let's move on to blessings and blocks. Things to embrace, things that you might want to be a little bit more aware of. All right, let's take a look and see the messages coming through. blessing, block. All right. The blessing, we have the 9 of Pentacles here, which is it's a very unique sort of drawing for this one. But if you were to look at a traditional card, which I might pull up in a second, the 9 of Pentacles is sustainability, it's independence, it's accomplishment, and it's also a reminder that it takes a while to get there. 9 of Pentacles has my favorite symbol on it. I'm sure you all are sick of hearing it, but it's important to keep mentioning it. But the snail at the bottom is a reminder that all of that work took some time. So you may be, at a different point of the journey where you're thinking to yourself, why is it taking so long? It's taking so long because you're going to be more appreciative of that journey when you get to the end, because you saw every little piece of it, the road, and you really kind of, like I said, digested and took it in. We also see the wings on this one, which is showing that you are being guided. And as long as you're going in that right direction, you're going to be okay, right? So here's some things to think about with this blessing card. By the way, any questions coming through, please hold them until the end. So the 9 of Pentacles, first of all, you can do it on your own, but you don't have to do it on your own. Sometimes it's so fiercely independent that it can reject help when, in fact, one more pentacle and you're actually at the end, right? And you have help and you have support and you have community. So you've proven your strength and independence. Don't be afraid to connect. And I think other people are going to be more likely, willing, and ready to connect with you now more than ever. So that's the blessing. The hidden blessing here is that you can do it alone, but you don't have to. And I see you on that path towards that independence and that sustainability, and it begins with whatever you're doing here. And the patience that you have in completing that brings the 9 of Pentacles into your life. All right, so that's your blessing. Your block is the Page of Pentacles in reverse. So we now got everyone in the suit, right? Except the Queen. Okay. So I definitely see for some of you family entering into the picture. When I get 3 or 4 of a suit, it can be a group of friends, a clique, a family, a really tight connection. And so there's one dissenting view or dissenting voice for some of you in that clique or in that small group. So you're going to have to figure out how to manage that. For the rest of you, the block is saying, I need to focus on myself. Pentacles in reverse is, anything reverse can be focusing on self, but particularly this because it's time, energy, and money when we're looking at Pentacles. So there's something going on where you're saying, I want to move some of that here. So maybe financially, you're going to take a bucket of money and put it into a different investment. Maybe you're going to take some of the time and use it to, like I said, better yourself in some way, shape, or form. So in doing so, there still could possibly be a communication that has to happen with other people because maybe some of those resources are shared. Maybe you doing this invites criticism or whatever. So just be ready for the conversation. And that's the potential block. Okay? Let's go ahead and move on to a part of the reading that I like, and I think you do too. And this is a chance for you to vote on some of the energies here. So viewers and readers' choice, let's take a look together at all of the cards and figure out what we want to talk about. All right, so let's take a look here. As I'm looking at it, I want to understand, maybe for some of you, clarification on when to take action. And I'm just going to title it that, like when to take action. The next piece that I want to focus on for you is, because we have the 10 of Swords in the past, I think for some of you it could be communication breakdown. So I'm going to say focusing on, what's the best way we could put this? Constructive communication. I'm just going to call it constructive communication since it's a long title and we have to shorten it here. And I really like this asking and receiving. So I guess it could fall under constructive criticism or constructive communication. So we'll leave it with that. Let me see if there's anything else. Oh, I really like what we're seeing here with, this is actually what we could do here is ask, for those of you that need to negotiate. So I'm going to put negotiation advice. because it looks like you can get what you're looking for, but there might be something that you need to ask about that. And I'll throw a fourth here, which is just relationships, if there's one more thing that needs to come through on that. All right, so I'm going to focus on something different while you vote. Let me take a quick look at all of this stuff. And I want to go a little deeper into the catalyst. We never do that really. So let's look at what it is that you need to clear out of your life right now. Okay, the card literally popped out of the deck. So we have the 7 of Pentacles, right? 5, 6, 7, yes. So this is interesting. Let's talk about the 7 of Pentacles. So you've got a lot of energy around resources. Like, I feel like we got half of the suit coming through today. This is clearing debt, right? So traditionally, the 7 of Pentacles would be a lot of times healing that's happening, but it can also be financial struggle or debt. So have you made a promise? Is there something that hasn't been completed? Do you owe someone something? Clear out the books. That's what we're talking about with clearing the energy. And if somebody owes you something, have the conversation and clear your mind. Sometimes maybe you just thought it wasn't going to bother you to give something away, lend something to someone, or maybe you thought it would be okay if they didn't pay you back or didn't give something back to you. But if it's bothering you, say it so that this can be cleared out, because until you do that, it's going to be something that eats away at you. The other thing with the 7 of Pentacles was the whole lesson of patience. So we talked about it with the 9 because you saw the snail. In the 7 of Pentacles, there's the understanding I've done some things that are going to take time to heal. I want to pull the traditional 7 of Pentacles so we can see it. And now I need to wait for reparation, for growth, and for development. So you're learning the snail energy in the 7 of Pentacles, patience. So one of the things that you also have a patience card here with the Hanged Man coming through as well. So there is a common theme here for trying to, it's kind of like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Not yet, but clearing out debts, clearing out any sort of anger or energy in that respect, and allowing yourself to fully heal, whether it's physically or emotionally. That's the foundation that you need to build right now. So it's a good card, good question. Let's look and see what you've voted on for me. When to take action by a resounding 43%. Thank you so much. All right, so we're looking at when to take the action in your life because, yeah, let's see how you can be the most effective. I like this. All right, so because some of you are focused on why isn't it happening? When is it happening? So let's take a look. All right, what a beautiful card here. So let's go ahead and pull this up here. So for some of you, it's already happening and you're possibly just too busy. So we have the Eight of Wands rather here. And with the Eight of Wands, there's a message that some of you are just kind of like stuck in the middle, or you feel like you're stuck in the middle, or there's so many things going on at once that you feel like, I don't know how to do it. This is typically a very, very, very positive card. So with respect to business and anything that you're doing, it shows momentum, continued pacing on this. But if we're looking at a timing, I mean, it's an 8. So it could be, for some of you, there might be like 2 months, or it might be like just a little over a week, like 8 days or 8 weeks. It doesn't feel like to me, it's a long sort of card here, a long term. So I would say within the next week or maybe the next couple of months, the time is right. One thing that you want to remember is that this is a hidden card for, like, there's more than one person here. We don't always see them, but they are in this card. So it takes 8 people to throw all of those wands into action. So you've got assistance. You didn't do this all on your own. There's other people there that can kind of support you. So ask for help, ask for their advice on the timing, get a gut check, see what they think. But from what I can see, you'll either have clarity in 8 days or in 2 months if we were to pull the 8 and kind of abstract it out. The other thing here is there's no reason you can't do something while you're doing something. So let me explain. For those of you that are entrepreneurs, I'm sure that you always have something else going, like another iron in the fire, right? so that once you complete one thing, the new thing is already en route, underway, developing. The way that I started this business was that, I started to learn how I did a bunch of things while I was in a corporate job. I started taking yoga teacher training classes, and I was doing a lot with yoga at the time. I was learning how to read tarot. I did a lot of meditation meetups and everything. And I was also looking at Reiki, a bunch of different modalities while I had this very mundane corporate sort of career. And then when I finally was ready to pull the trigger and do my own thing, plus I was writing too. Like, I had a bunch of stuff years, like 10 years before I was even ready to make the shift. 5 years, 3 years, like, it was happening a long time. So it may have seemed like I just turned a switch and did something else, but like the butterfly, I'd already changed by the time I created the chrysalis. All I had to do was tell people I've changed and I'm ready. So start something while you're doing something. Start now. And you'll see the change and the result possibly in a week, possibly in a couple months. But when that happens, you can hit the road running and you'll be in a good place. That is how I'm going to interpret that for you today. Okay. Great question. Great energy with that as well. I'm really feeling good about your reading, Scorpio. One thing that I always find interesting is how people are afraid. Like, we're looking at this during a retrograde, but you're going to be coming out of it for the month that I'm reading for June. Retrogrades are beautiful opportunities to fix something that's broken. And the universe can be either very subtle in the way that it presents this opportunity or very vocal. So just listen to what it's trying to tell you, and you really can't go wrong as long as you're listening, okay? We're going to look at a new part of my reading where I go into sun, rising, and moon messages. This was pretty popular last month, so I'll keep it as long as it's popular. As I said, you can use it for this reading for any aspect of your chart, but typically people look at these 3 things. So I wanted to drill a little bit deeper into it. I choose to do it at the end rather than the beginning because I've had the benefit of everything that we've talked about, and I can draw more connections. So that's kind of like why I placed it where it was. Let's pull the cards, and then let's look at the messages. If you like what you see here, while I'm doing it, like, tweet out that I'm doing a live reading. Let's get more people invited to this and make it a nice party. Here's your sun. You've got 2 for rising. Sometimes they come together. And we have 1 for moon. All right, so let's take a look at these messages, starting with sun sign messages. So this is for anybody that's born under the sign of Scorpio. What we're looking at is just general advice, and the sun sign is your authentic self, your personality, etc. So we have the Chariot card coming through. I love that this Chariot is just the horse, and we don't see the other horse, and we don't see the person pulling the chariot. So this is very connected to the message of kind of like doing this on your own or separate from someone that used to be there. I feel like the big growth and spiritual opportunity for you this month is taking the reins of your own life and taking ownership and just really embracing something head on. This is a management card, but it is not as sort of like revealing as the star is or can be. This is more subtle. It's saying, I can do this, or I'll try this. Let me try this. As I say this, interestingly enough, I feel a solar plexus, like a jab in the solar plexus. So some of you are still questioning, can I do this? So when you think in question, rephrase it in statement. Can I do this? Take all the words and jumble them around and say, I can do this. Will I be okay? I will be okay. Did you know you can just kind of like change around a question? So start with all your insecurities and make them positive statements. Am I experienced enough? I am experienced enough. Will others accept me? Others will accept me. Just restate questions in affirmatives and active statements, and use this as your mantra each day. I am strong enough to do this. Others will accept my authority. My ideas have a place at the table. I am ready. I am ready, and I am willing to receive love and abundance in the highest forms. That's it. You just have to be the horse, the wild steed on its own, taking its own path, its own reins, and saying, I will do this, okay? Really cool. And I don't know if I've talked through the ability before to take all of the insecurities and just make them securities, but you definitely can take a question and make it a statement. So start with your insecurity, make it a sort of more secure statement, and then figure out what you need to do to get there. So if you're saying it and still not believing it, maybe then say, I am ready to do this as long as I can get this, this, and this. So clarify your statement if you need to, and then go do those things. And that's how you create goals. Okay. Now let's take a look at rising and ascendant. So the way that rising and ascendant expresses itself is usually in the way that others perceive you. It's projection. It's how you want to be seen to the world. So work and career and business and external friendships, even your neighbors, all would constitute the sort of energy that we would see here in the rising or ascendant. It's also a litmus test on how accurate or well you are at putting that sort of energy out there. Actors are probably most connected to this, maybe their moon as well, but like they're very good at projecting something that they're not or something that they want to be seen as. So let's see what the messages are around that external projection. Okay, so you got two cards. We'll look at them together. They're both reversed. Let's just pull them upright so that we can see them. Let's start with the more powerful of the two. So we have the Queen of Wands, possibly my favorite queen card in all of tarot because she's powerful. Here she's shown as a snake, but she's also magical. She's intuitive. She is able to pull a rabbit out of her hat. You know, like you are never sort of able to completely outfox the Queen of Wands. So you have the capacity to do that this month. Leadership, for sure. This is a really good card when it comes to boss energy. So I think of that's the word that I would put as a sort of like quotation marks underneath Queen of Wands would be boss. So some of you are second guessing your boss energy. Some of you might be overthinking what you can do, and don't do that because other people smell that. Remember, the salmon have that ability to sort of smell and taste the water that they're in. So people are going to smell fear. So you need to get through the fear or the doubt in order to just be the strong divine feminine energy that we see here. Okay. And then what's contributing to it? We have it was in reverse here. So we have the Nine of Swords. This isn't the prettiest card to look at. So the Nine of Swords here is showing fears. So they did a good job. I mean, we're looking at worms or maggots. It's not the most beautiful card. That's my one complaint on this one. But they went for nightmares. So I totally know what the illustrator was doing. I'm just going to hold it back because we don't need this right up in the camera. Things are not typically as bad as they seem with the Nine of Swords. And some of you may let's combine the two and let's just put it behind this. Some of you are simply afraid of the leadership opportunity, a common thread that we've been seeing here. So I would say for you, don't be afraid. The Nine of Swords can be used as butterflies, like the sort of butterflies you get before performing or speaking or saying something really important, but not the butterflies that feel like it's a flock that's kind of too much or makes you sick or want to throw up. So just use a little bit of stress or anxiety and think, I only care because I care. I'm only feeling this nervous or anxious energy because I really want to do well. And I trust in my ability to do well. So we're going to focus more on the Queen of Wands for the rising and ascendant. Fear of managing or leading, yet it's probably fear that's misplaced. Just start to be more affirmative. Like we were talking about, there is a connection between the sun and the rising, and I'm not surprised because we're looking at aspects of the same sign. It's all leadership energy, and we're going to see that now as we go to the moon signs. So for the moon sign, which is the secret part of ourselves, the part that we don't let everybody in on, sometimes the part that we don't even look at ourselves, we have the ultimate divine feminine card, I would say the Empress here. You have the capacity to create and finish and nurture anything that you want to put your time and energy behind. You are the boss. This actually trumps that previous card, Queen of Wands. It's the best. Like, we actually leveled up here if you're to look at these. So this is a boss. This is a better boss. Although arguably with this being a major arcana card, you could cut it either way. But then this is the biggest boss card that I could pull. So I would say it's all about leadership. Each and every aspect that we're looking at. A little bit different here though. The Empress card, for some of you, indicates, as again, we're looking at the moon signs, some of you are facing someone who scares you. This could be your mom, this could be a boss or a CEO, or just the idea of stepping into someone's footsteps. There's the shadow of someone that was bigger than life, but you have that same bigger than life energy. You're a part of that. So for the moon sign in particular, this piece is coming through. Like energy attracts like energy, often shortened to like attracts like. So if that energy is in your life, you're like that energy. Now, one of the tricky things is when someone really difficult is in your life, they're showing you where you're struggling in your life. You may not be a facsimile or a copy of that, but if you don't like what you see there, go within and rectify, and then that will go away. And that's the message here. You have the leadership, you have the power, you have the strength. Don't second guess it, okay? Very cool. This is the most cohesive sun rising moon that I've seen in any sign, which is telling me that you've kind of got it sorted out this month. And, you can focus on some of the core messages that we talked about. But good work. You've done a great job this month. Let's go ahead and quickly recap what we've done and what's coming up. So we've been through all the major pieces here. This is just my little reminder. The next thing that we're going to look at is a quick meditation and then your final question. So earlier, some of you were asking, like, what about my relationship or what about this? Now you can ask that question silently. Just meditate on it so that we don't get a bunch of things pushed out into chat, and also so that I'm not influenced as I'm pulling the card. Then you can tell me how it resonates afterwards. So that's what we're going to do next. A couple of things as I'm getting prepared here. You have a chance to vote on the instrument that I'm going to play here. Please stick around. It's only going to take a second as I do that. Just a reminder, as I'm doing this, if you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do that. It does help with the growth of the channel. If you'd like reminders, you can also join me on social media for more information. And if you'd like to give back, at the very end of this reading, I'll make sure that I say your name and say thank you. And I've decided, because I'm looking at the kind of like milestones that we're at, I think I'm going to do something special when I hit every 25,000 subscribers. I might open it up to a Q&A or a special type of reading just to kind of like encourage growth more and to give members more perks. So I may have a Q&A coming up in about 5,000 more subscribers. So it could be a few weeks. It might happen this month. Depends, because I think we were at 320. So when we hit 325, I'll do something fun. And that's a way to get back to the members. So it's a good time to join if you'd like to. All right, let's get ready for the meditation today. We're going to use let's see. There's a couple of things that we could do. I actually really like the idea of a cosmic web. We don't have to worry about like being the spider. You could also imagine this being sort of like a dream catcher. So let's do that. It seems really good, and it was like front and center in this spread. So stick around for about a minute and a half, and then we'll look at your final card. In the meantime, let's do a little bit of work on calling in abundance, okay? Because that was a key theme that I saw for you. Close your eyes and imagine that you have the capacity, not just imagine, embrace the understanding that you have the capacity to call things into your life. Just as the spider weaves a web and captures its next meal, you too can set into the tapestry of your life some sort of a pattern that is attractive. So instead of a web, imagine it may be a little looser, kind of like the dream catcher, or maybe like, for those of you that enjoy crocheting or creating something like sewing it, imagine that you could weave something in front of you, this sort of cosmic pattern, a web if you will, and put in the center of it a sigil, a symbol, just like a hieroglyph of what it is that you want. For some of you, and this just keeps it simple, it could be a heart for love. It could be a smile for happiness, for joy. It could be a picture of a house if you're trying to find a new place to live. Do something easy, and then imagine that it's glistening in the starlight around you, because this is kind of cast out in space. And then just sit there and watch and meditate and really connect with that symbol and think to yourself, I'm capable of creating this. I'm capable of calling it in. I embody the energy to lead myself to this path, and I can't wait to see it manifest in my life. Focus on that visual as I pull out the singing bowl and play it for about a minute, and then I'll answer your final question that you have for me. All right, take a nice deep breath and understand now that you have sent your message out into the universe. One of the earlier things that we were talking about was the ability to send and receive. Trust that your message has been received. Be willing, ready, and able to receive it as well. Let's focus now on the final card. So at this point, I want you to hold a question in your mind. Think about what that might be, what it is that you need some guidance on, and just allow me to connect with that, and we'll see what's coming through. So I'm laughing because it was basically what was on my mug today. So we got the moon card here. The moon card is in reverse. They do a really good job showing sort of different energy here for the moon, which can be sometimes feeling like there are these two rigid extremes, polarized extremes, right versus wrong. The dog and the wolf, or the dog and the coyote, represent the same thing on the moon card, which is what we've been trained to do with what we've been sort of instinctually called to do. And both of them can sometimes feel like, but it's my way and it's the only way. The truth of the matter is the path could be not binary or polarized. It's somewhere in the middle, and it may be something completely different than what you expect. Keep an open mind and avoid right versus wrong or the on-off sort of energy here. The card is reversed, so this is also about being honest, and if there's someone in your life that lacks integrity, can't be honest with you, if you're having a hard time being honest with yourself, this is really about trying to rectify that piece so that everything is in the best possible sort of light and energy. Ultimately, this is a very nice intuitive energy as well, the moon card. So subtlety is key to this because it's more about instinct. It's less about something flashing in your third eye or coming through as clairaudient energy. It's sort of like, this feels best to me. This feels like something I need to talk about. All of those things are what you want to focus on, is the heart, the gut, the sort of inner knowing, okay? As a yes or a no, you need more information with the moon card. The moon card is saying there's something that could be in the fine print in a contract, or that has been unspoken in a communication with someone. It's a not yet. I typically don't love doing yes nos, but I know some of you might just be saying yes or no. So I would say not yet, you need more information, and you need to look at the thing that makes you most uncomfortable or afraid and talk about that first. And that's what the moon card is all about. And that's the tea, quite literally, okay? I saw someone mentioning something about the similar messages, and saying like I wasn't shuffling or something. That's not the case. I actually feel this is the first time in a long time that I've seen something coming through with such clarity. To me, it portends that there's just a lot of commonality across sun, rising, and moon this month with your sign. There's nothing wrong with having, as somebody said here, the same message, but kind of like different people are going to be receiving that message differently. So it was fine-tuned for sun, rising, and moon, but it was all about leadership. A couple of the other things here, like the Empress card, could be mothers and nurturing yourself. The Queen of Wands card has to do with organization and leadership. And the Chariot in this deck had to do with independence. So it's not exactly the same message. There was different sort of veins of leadership. So, take a listen again, look at the cards again, and see what comes to you as you do that. And that's that. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining today, for subscribing, for sharing your time and energy. I hope to see you across social media. I've been a little bit pulled back on Instagram. I'm going to do some more with that, and TikTok, just because there's been a lot going on in my life with the loss of a parent, with me having to move their stuff out, with me looking for a new place. So I pulled back a little bit, but I'll be adding some more to that in the coming weeks and months. So do follow me there if you haven't already. Let's take a moment now to say thank you to all of you that joined today. I want to start first by just acknowledging, I saw we had a bunch of stickers coming in right now, and I also recognize a bunch of channel members. So it's good to see you here. Let's go ahead and go into the gratitude portion, and then we'll wrap up for today. While I'm doing that, a reminder that I will be live again tomorrow. So we'll be doing Sagittarius on Friday, and on Sunday, I'll be doing the weekly collective. And both of those videos you can set a reminder for. I created those yesterday just so you could do that. All right, so give me a second here, and we'll say welcome to the new members first. Okay, so the new members that we have here are rejoining Isha Marie. I, of course, recognize your name, and welcome back. We have, is it Janelle, I think, Janelle Baker rejoining after 6 months. Deshonda Sullivan rejoining after 4 months. Tony, I can't pronounce the last name. I'm just going to say Tony O, rejoining after 11 months. And I think that's everybody from the past 2 days. So thank you so much. Let's go ahead now and offer some gratitude for anybody that gave a super sticker or super chat. So let's take a look here. And we have, kicking things off today, Shayna Hewitt. I appreciate you and getting things going here today. Thanks so much. Isha Marie, thank you as well. Thanks for again rejoining. Much appreciated. Carla Owen, insightful guidance. Angelique Bean. Cindy Chen. Let's see. Mystic Luna Rain, thank you, and thanks for the 50. I appreciate it. BU, Eileen Whitmore, and Megski. Thank you, everybody, for being present here. And let me see if I missed anyone. I don't think I did. All right, everyone. Lots of love and light. I hope you have a great month ahead. I hope you've had a great week so far. And I look forward to seeing some of you tomorrow and the rest of you on Sunday. Lots of love and light. Take care of yourselves and have a great day.